I'm here today with Zach Schieffer. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Great.
It's tough. It's tough, dude. It's Schieffer. It's kind of like
Schieffer.
the same thing as Bieber. It looks like B-I. It's the IE looks a little weird, but it's Schieffer.
Love it. All right, brother. Just some quick fire questions right off the bat. Where you based first?
Yeah, man. I am in the U.S. here in Kansas City.
Lovely. And what type of agency do you run?
So I do email and SMS marketing for direct to consumer e-commerce brands.
Great. And when did you start that?
Yeah. So I officially started the agency right around summer of 2022 ish.
So about about a year and a half now, right? And how much an MRR are you currently generating?
Yeah, so highest month was right around 12K from the business.
Beautiful, brother. All right. So maybe you could tell us a bit more about what it is that you do as an agency and who exactly do you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, really, we do everything. Our goal is to work with direct to consumer e-commerce brands. Everything from the website visitor hitting the site. We really want to work on email and SMS marketing. So, they sign up to the pop-up form, they get on the email list, and we're going to be the ones that send out those newsletter blasts. They call them campaigns, as well as setting up all those email flows like the abandoned cart, welcome series, abandoned checkout, thank you flows, things like that.
And did you always offer SMS? Because I know a lot of people, when they're starting their email marketing agency, they usually just focus on that. And maybe down the line, they add SMS. Is that something that you had from the get-go? We wanted to offer both?
Yeah, we like to do both. Doesn't take a ton of extra work, but we've seen great results, especially like US based clients that if your target audience is in US, Canada, UK, those types of countries, definitely, especially within the flows, like you just send those automated, hey, you left this in your cart, and those definitely rip.
Love it, brother. And maybe you could tell us a bit about sort of the origin story then. So, like, what motivated you to even start the agency?
Yeah, yeah, 100%, bro. Um, so I mean, really, kind of growing up, I was here in Kansas City. I went to high school here. I was always one of those guys that took school very, very seriously, got really great grades, great student, played football, ran track, captained the debate team, all that good stuff. So I was right on track to get some, great 9 to 5. So I ended up going to Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is a lot bigger city, very urban environment. So it was okay. It was very, very difficult though. Played football for a little bit there. Got my degree in statistics and machine learning. Learned a ton about AI before it went just crazy like it is today. So things like that, machine learning, software development, math, all that good stuff. Very difficult time for sure. And I wasn't big, coming from Kansas where it's, you imagine Wizard of Oz, cornfields, all that, to huge, very industrial type of city, right in the heart of it. Very different. Wasn't the biggest fan, but during when I was getting my undergrad, I realized, especially during COVID, I moved actually back home and just was balling it, like, super nice apartment, living on my own, living my best life. Was out of the city life and back to where I just really enjoyed. It was more my speed, and I realized that this 9 to 5, working at some big tech company doing software development or something like that, wasn't the move. So I started getting into online money, as we all do, and I started freelancing, doing a bunch of different odd jobs. Um, I was working for an NFT company. I was working for all these different businesses, doing copywriting and design and content. Anything you can think of, I was doing it just to try and make money. Thought of working remote and working online was super appealing, even if it wasn't going to pay as much as going to work at Amazon or Netflix or Apple or whatever, like all my friends back at school were doing. So I really ended up enjoying that, even if I wasn't making a ton at that moment. Especially the design. I think that's where I got into email marketing. Is I love going into Figma and Photoshop, and I learned a ton there. Also, during this time, I was crushing it. I was getting into insanely good shape, just going to the gym like literally twice a day, making YouTube videos. That was a big thing. I thought I was going to be basically the next Graham Stephan, talking about finances and everything like that. So I posted like 80 YouTube videos during this time, learned all about editing, photoshopping on camera, all that good stuff. And unfortunately was not quite the next Graham Stephan, but it was one of those things where it was a good stepping stone. That got me into doing YouTube SEO, really, really interesting business model. Basically like SEO like you would do on Google, but for YouTube videos. Very interesting offer at the time, learned a ton about cold email, and that's where I got into the agency space. Eventually got into a course from a big SMMA YouTuber, and he said, all right, look, this YouTube SEO thing, I'm not so sure about it. We basically do two different options, ads or emails. So, pivotal moment for me right there. I chose emails, and that's where I started the email marketing from there. After college, kind of during this period, I also, pretty wild stuff going on. During the second year of college, I got my education fully paid off by the Department of Defense, so long as I go there and work for them afterwards. So that's why I ended up working after my college education as a software developer for the U.S. Army on the side. So that was my main 9 to 5, the U.S. Army, kind of doing software development and wargaming for them. And then also had the agency on the side. So I got my first email marketing agency client at the end of 2022. And then 2023 was really all about learning the service, adding on clients and team members, and just really going from 0 to 1, learning all about sales. I think probably the first 30-ish sales calls were just horrible. I don't even want to look back on those. But I learned a ton, and now I'm a full-time business owner heading into 2024. Really, really exciting. And that's that.
I love how you just like so many different paths until you just took this. And this is what I love about this show. It's like I ask people the same question always, and it's like the answer is always completely different. It's just like you never know what to expect. I mean, you threw me off with the whole US Army thing, by the way. I did not know that at all. I wanted to ask, Zach, could you maybe tell us about your, like, since you were kind of talking about that at the end, your path from 0 to 10K. What you mentioned, like you had that first case study at the beginning and then used that later to kind of learn more regarding deliverability and all that. Could you maybe kind of walk us through the whole process? Where did you start and where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, really, I mean, sales is such a big aspect in the beginning because until you have those first case studies, like you don't even believe that you can do it. And the fact that I could kind of like the first client was very much the hardest because you don't have anything to stand on. You're really not sure how you're going to fulfill this service. And so that was the most crucial. And that client right there, for at least the first 3 months, all I could do is just learn and focus on them and really get that great case study, even just like mentally, like for myself, so I could go into those next, few months down the line, I can go into those next sales calls and just have the confidence that I actually do know what I'm doing. Because yeah, that first time really is just going to be the most, like you have no idea what to expect. You have no idea how to set up the software and all these things. So yeah, I would say that's definitely the most pivotal moment right there. Yeah. What was the other part of that question? I know.
Yeah, like how did you even land
You
that
might have
first?
broken up a little bit there.
Yeah, how did you even land that first client to begin with?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it was they liked that majority of the deal was going to be on a revenue share. So we did a pretty minimal, like, under 2 grand a month. It's like 1.2 grand a month plus 10% of what we can make on top of what they're already doing. So the worst that they could lose is not even 2 grand a month. And so they had a ton of upside. It was something that made me excited at the time, but it wasn't like a crazy massive retainer. And yeah, it was just, I after, I don't even know what it was, 15, 20 sales calls, I finally got, at least could, at least get the confidence to tell them, hey, here's what we plan on doing. And I also I had a contractor at the time too, that he really he knew what he was doing. He's done email marketing a ton before. And so luckily he was doing a majority of the day-to-day operations. So at least if I had confidence in him and the fact that he could get great results, and at least I had confidence that I could figure it out is the point. And nothing's too like crazy hard to understand, luckily. So yeah, it was really just like confidence thing. Like once I kind of built that up, at that point, it really translates to your sales calls.
And for the contractor that you just mentioned, did you from the get-go start working with that person? Because a lot of times people start with fulfillment, maybe on their own, and then eventually they start kind of contracting out some work. What was it like for you at the beginning?
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting the way that they had it in the course that I took. It was kind of a mentorship coaching program, and the way they said is, you ramp up your cold emails, you get your outreach going, you start getting these sales calls, and while you're having potential clients come through the door, that's when you're simultaneously hiring this person. So there was a bit of a lag where I basically hired this guy and said, hey, we're ramping things up. We want to make sure that things are dialed in before you actually start this, that, and the other. So there was like a 1 or 2 month waiting period where I had this guy ready to go, but I didn't exactly have a client, and he was fine with that. You just have to frame it in the right way. It's all about framing is what they say. And he was cool with it. And so there was just a bit of a lag period where I hired this person, and he had like, I used his case studies in the sales process, which was huge. And we could kind of show like, hey, like here's what our team has done. And I think that it was a bit, again, that first client is always the most rocky, shaky, kind of paper mache type of operation. But, it works out in the end, and it's a good learning experience.
Love it. And maybe we could kind of talk about some of the mistakes that you probably made early on, maybe some of the challenges that you faced, and like how you were able to like overcome them. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in kind of knowing a bit about that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So mistakes really, it's tough to say because the mistakes that you make are there for a reason, and they're more of a, you need to make that mistake until you learn the lesson type of thing. So at least trials and tribulations, definitely just dealing with uncertainty is the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome. And I still do, but now when I have, approaching double digit amount of clients, you just understand that there's going to be fires to put out every day. And when I had that first client, there was like so many minor things that just kind of went wrong or wasn't exactly how we expected on our end to go. And so there's a lot that you just have to deal with. For example, our emails, like like the CMO of our company our client, the first client that we got was like freaking out because these emails, like for whatever reason, the images just looked really, really weird on mobile devices. And we had no idea how to like fix that within the software. We eventually figured it out, but it was like, I was pulling my hair out with my first client. And then now like I have 10 times more headaches and things like that over time, like a day. And, I luckily have a great team that helps and can put out those fires immediately, but it just bounces off now. And it used to be a lot more difficult. At least used to like make you feel like you're not doing a good job. And I realize now that's just part of the game.
Exactly, exactly. As you mentioned, I feel like especially when you start talking to other agency owners, especially who are starting out, you start realizing everybody's dealing with their own sets of problems, and as you progress, the problems don't disappear. If anything, they multiply. So it's as you mentioned, you literally described the role of like the agency owner like perfectly when you just said your job is literally to put off like fires all the time. I did want to go over perhaps maybe, for anybody that's watching this, maybe some advice that you may have. Like if somebody were to right now who's on their journey to either starting their agency or maybe they already started their agency, but they're probably struggling to kind of like grow it. What are some things that perhaps you could share that would help them shortcut like the whole process so that they can reach success at a maybe much faster or more efficient pace?
Yeah, 100%. Biggest thing that comes to mind is feedback loops and efficient feedback loops. For me, it was two different courses or coaching programs that really helped cement the like what you should be doing, because the worst thing in my mind that a lot of people I think are afraid of is putting all this effort but going down the wrong path, you know doing all this outreach for an offer that nobody even is going to want. And so if you can take your whatever, if it's a 9 to 5 job, you take that little bit of that money and invest it into paying for someone that can kind of check you and look at your business from a 30,000 foot view rather than you just doing it on your own. That's massive. So just really investing into people who have been there, done that. It's by far the biggest piece of advice. Or else, you can test it out, see how things go on your own for a little bit, but you're gonna hit so many different roadblocks, and a lot of times there's roadblocks that you need to overcome, and there's roadblocks that you shouldn't be hitting because your offer's messed up or you're just completely in the opposite field. Especially as you're a beginner, you just don't know how to navigate those things. So yeah.
Exactly. And what about like the plans for your agency, like future plans? Like you're right now, you said you're managing, or so either you worked with dozen client or you're managing a dozen client. You have a team now. What's the next step basically for the agency?
Yeah, no, 100%. So I mean, really, we had two great months in November and December, like, right at like 12K recurring, like 16K, like high, just in terms of revenue there. So I definitely want to get to that 20 or 30K a month level in 2024. I think that'd be huge. I think it's very much a next step in that instead of me fulfilling all this work and working 14-hour days and doing this all myself, that's just not what I could not what a 30K a month business owner needs to be doing. And so it's a lot more about delegating, having really great team meetings, and having a good solid fulfillment structure where I'm not actually doing every single little nitty gritty thing. So that's the biggest thing, is just hiring the team out, continuing to train them up, put the right people into the right roles.
Love it. And maybe you could share maybe your website, your socials, anything like people that can find more information about you and your business.
Yeah, 100%. So really, Twitter is where I'm most active. So you can just look up my name, Zach Schieffer, ZachSchieffer. And then, yeah, our company website is ZHS Ecom. So ZHS-ecom.com. You can kind of see everything that we're doing over there.
Love it, man. Appreciate you coming on, brother, and love your story. And still thrown off by the whole U.S. Army thing. So that's actually quite cool.
Dude, it was a wild ride, 100%.
Awesome, brother. We'll catch up.
Amazing, bro.